The Olympus recorder was supposed to be dead tech, but when Daniel pressed play, he didn't hear static. He heard Emily Cross, a victim buried 10 years ago, alive, speaking, right now. What if a murder victim's voice could return, not from the archives, but from the present? In tonight's case, we follow Daniel Cho as he uncovers a recording that should not exist, the living voice of Emily Cross, a woman the system declared dead over a decade ago. This is the moment where surveillance becomes sabotage and truth becomes dangerous. The Olympus recorder was still in his pocket, heavy as a pistol. Daniel hadn't slept. Couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, her voice bled through the dark. He's not supposed to know my name. Emily Cross. Not a tape from the past. Not an archive fragment. This was live. He knew the way breath sat on magnetic tape, the texture of background is, the signal chain of obsolete equipment. What he'd heard wasn't police evidence logged in 2009. It wasn't courtroom playback from 2011. It was cleaner, modern, captured on gear from the last 2 years. And that meant someone was recording her now. By sunrise, he was at his desk in the motel. Curtains drawn, notebooks open, laptop fan humming. He slid the recorder across the wood like it might detonate. 3 steps, he told himself. Authenticate the hardware. Authenticate the file. Authenticate the voice. He started with the hardware. His Olympus backup. Serial number intact. Same faint scratch along the side panel where he'd once dropped it on asphalt. Same rubber peel at the battery compartment. No doubt this was his. So how had the Holo pulled it from a Salem storage unit without leaving a trace? Daniel wrote it down in thick block letters. Holo equals access physical storage. He moved the file. He connected the recorder to his laptop with the old USB cable, watching the directory populate. A single WAV file. 36 seconds. Created timestamp. 2 days ago. Not possible, unless someone had written onto his recorder before delivering it. He played it again through headphones. No edits. No artifacting from cuts. Clean gain staging. Background noise faint. Filtered. But there an vac hum maybe. Not an outdoor recording. Someone had recorded her in a room, then left it for him like bait. He needed verification outside his own eyes. If he told anyone in uniform, the Holo's claws inside the system would close around it instantly. He couldn't take it to the task force without handing it back to the very people orchestrating the leak. So he called Ruiz. Daniel? Jesus, it's been years. The woman's voice on the other end was ragged with fatigue. A forensic audio specialist he'd worked with during his state police days. Left after a political dust-up, now consulting out of Portland. I need a lab check. Urgent. Off books, he said. Don't like the sound of that. You'll like it less if I explain. Can you run a spectro on a voice sample without logging it? A pause. Send it in. My home rig's better than the Bureau's anyway. But if you're about to drop something radioactive on me... It already is, Daniel cut in. But you're the only one I trust to call it straight. He mailed a copy on encrypted thumb drive that afternoon, using a private courier. He spent the next day in the motel, pacing, waiting for Ruiz's word. But when her email came, his chest sank. Subject, unable to process. Daniel clicked it open. Daniel, sample corrupt. File won't play. System reads as empty container. Either you sent me a blank, or your drive glitched. Try again. Ah, his hands clenched. The file had played fine on his end. He replayed it now, 3 times, crystal clear. But when she tried, blank, not glitch, sabotage. The Holo hadn't just intercepted the courier, they poisoned the copy. Daniel flipped to a fresh notebook page, scrolling in frantic black. Holo equals in transit. Intercept files. If they could rewrite a thumb drive midroute, there was no safe courier. No chain outside their reach. He needed a lab he could walk into himself. Not a courier. Not digital. That meant Portland. He packed light, recorder, notes, burner phone. He drove 3 hours north, switching cars twice, paranoid every mile. Shadows in the mirror. A black SUV once, maybe following. Maybe not. He couldn't be sure. By midnight, He was at Ruiz's apartment. "Show me," she said, eyes bloodshot but sharp. He handed over the Olympus. "Play it straight off this. Don't transfer yet." She plugged in her reference headphones, hit play. For a long moment, only hiss. Then the voice. Emily's voice. Ruiz froze. Her pupils dilated. Jesus Christ. Who is this? Victim. Cold case. Officially dead. Ruiz tore the headphones off. "No, that's not archival. That's clean. Daniel, this is fresh capture." He nodded once. "I need a match. Spectro against old case audio." She hesitated. "You realize if this is who you say it is, then someone's been lying for a decade. Someone high up." Daniel's jaw locked. "I'm aware." Ruiz set up a workstation, booted software, loaded the WAV. The spectrogram lit up, peaks and valleys dancing. She pulled old case audio from her archive, lined the two waveforms side by side. Match percentage, 97.8. Her face went pale. "Daniel, it's her? Whoever told you she's dead?" The screen flickered. Once, then twice, then black. "Power outage," she muttered, scrambling. Lights were still on. Only her machine had died. Daniel's gut dropped. She rebooted. But when the desktop loaded, the WAV file was gone. Directory empty. "Impossible," she whispered. "Local drive can't just wipe like that." Daniel grabbed her wrist, steadying her. "Don't chase the file. They're here." And then he heard it, faint outside the window. A diesel engine idling. Black SUV. They killed the lights, crouching low. Daniel peeked through the blinds. Subpark half a block down. Windows tinted. Engine running. "They are not just sabotaging data," he said under his breath. "They are babysitting the sabotage." Ruiz's hands trembled. "What the hell have you dragged me into?" He pulled the Olympus recorder from his pocket. "Proof. Proof that paints a target on your back," she hissed. "Then we use it fast," Daniel said. "Force it into daylight before they can smother it." But how? Every channel he'd tried had been frozen. Couriers, digital, lab, now direct hardware sabotage. What was left? There was one channel left. Uncontrolled, brutal, dangerous, analog broadcast, shortwave, pirate bands. If he patched the recorder straight into a transmitter, he could pump Emily's voice into open airwaves. No digital trail, no intercept. Once it was in the ether, anyone could record it. Amateur hams, hobbyists, random listeners. Once dispersed, it couldn't be pulled back. It would go public. It would break the Hollow's perimeter. But it would also paint a target so big they wouldn't wait for subtle sabotage. They'd come direct. Daniel turned to Ruiz. "You know anyone with radio gear?" Her eyes darted. Then she nodded slowly. "Yeah, my uncle, old survivalist, CB junkie. Half his garage is transmitters." Daniel exhaled. "Then that's our next move." He pocketed the recorder. The sub's engine still idled. His chest felt like it might split open from the adrenaline. Emily's voice echoed in his ears again. "He's not supposed to know my name." Too late. He knew. And now, for the first time, he had something the Hollow couldn't erase with a keystroke. If he could get it onto the airwaves, it might survive. But the SUV outside revved once, like punctuation. The Hollow already knew his next step, and they were waiting. The plan was never elegant. It didn't need to be. Daniel and Ruiz weren't building a tower. They weren't breaking into satellite uplinks or fiber backbone. What they had was a rig transceiver, scavenged from Ruiz's ham shack and ash cache of salvage boards, patched with cables that ran like arteries across the concrete floor of an abandoned Union Hall on the city's south side. All they wanted was a breach. A signal loud enough to slip past the Hollow's filters, to carry Emily's voice, uncorrupted, unburied, into the airwaves. Ruiz hunched over the rig, sweat beading under the glow of a desk lamp. Frequencies clear. Low-band VHF. They'll hear it on scanners, truck radios, maybe even some old car stereos. Daniel stared at the waveform dancing on the monitor. He'd cued it 3 times already. The recovered tape of Emily's words. The last phrase is not scrubbed clean by the hollow. Her voice was raw, shaky, alive. He hit play. The speakers hissed. This is Emily Cross. The broadcast held for 12 seconds. Then the whole light snapped out. Every bulb went black at once. Ruiz cursed and slapped the side of the transceiver. Grid just dropped. Whole block. Daniel's stomach tightened. Not chance. They are pushing back. The rig still hummed, running on the backup inverter, but the signal strength bar collapsed to half, then quarter. Ruiz twisted the dial furiously. They are jamming. The waveform on screen jittered, bled sideways into static. Emily's voice broke into fragments. Cross, if any, here. Then silence. Boots hit the door. Not subtle, not cautious. The old wood frame shuddered under the first kick. Ruiz's eyes shot to Daniel. There, hey! Another slam rattled the hinges. Daniel pulled his sidearm, his mind cutting through every scenario at once. This wasn't just suppression, it was escalation. The hollow was tired of filters, tired of redactions. Now it wanted bodies on the floor. 30 seconds and we're dark. Ruiz snapped, pulling a second hardline cable from under the table. We can reroute the broadcast, high frequency, skip it off atmosphere. It won't hold, but it'll punch through. Daniel hesitated. High frequency meant more reach, but also more exposure. If the hollow already had boots here, they'd have nets waiting above, listening. The door splintered. A flashlight beam cut into the dark. Daniel fired once, just to scatter them, the crack snapping through the dead hole like thunder. Ruiz slammed the cable in. Signals live. Hit it. Cho. Daniel dropped his hand to the switch. Emily's voice came back, warped but unmistakable, rising over the static like a ghost refusing to drown. They don't want you to hear me. And then the world went white. The power grid surged back in a single violent arc, every light bulb exploding overhead, sparks raining down like shrapnel. The rig screamed, overloaded, as if the hollow itself had reached through the wires. The last thing Daniel saw was Ruiz's face lit by the glow of the burning circuit boards, eyes wide with both triumph and terror. Because the voice had gotten out, if only for a moment. Emily's voice escaped for only seconds before the hollow crushed the broadcast. But even seconds of truth are enough to fracture a lie that's lasted for years. Was Emily alive when this was recorded? Or was it the hollow feeding Daniel bait to pull him deeper? That answer is still out there. If you believe this case deserves daylight, subscribe to Unheard Evidence, where we bring forward the stories they tried to erase. And in our next episode, we follow the trail of the voice to the one place it was never supposed to reach.